Hello, Namaskar, and a very good afternoon to all the viewers watching NCERT's live interactive session. I'm Simran Singh, and you have all connected with us through eVidya channel number 5. Besides this, there are so many diverse mediums through which you can connect with us. You can also participate in our live sessions by raising your queries and your questions in the comment section of our YouTube channel. That's NCERT Official. And for this half an hour, we have a session of English for all class 5th students, and we are going to read a very interesting story that is titled as Gulliver's Travels. And I think this name is not new to many of you because it's an adventurous story, and the kind of the series of voyages and the mishaps that takes place makes it even more lively and interesting to read and understand. So let me also apprise you, if you have any of the queries, any questions you would like to share with our experts, anything you would like to ask us in particular with regard to our programs. So here is our contact number flashing on your screens. It's 8800440559, and you can always reach out to us and feel free to write to us through this mail ID. Specifically for class 5th students, the mail ID is right there on your screens. It is dth.class5@ciet.nic.in. So let me also introduce you to the expert for today's English program. We have with us Dr. Amit Ranjan. Namaskar, sir. Hello.
Hello.
And sir is currently serving as assistant professor at CIT NCERT, New Delhi. So let's begin the conversation, and it's a very, very interesting chapter.
Sure.
Over to you.
Yeah. So this is for class 5, chapter unit 7, second part of it, Gulliver's Travels by Jonathan Swift. So this is the original book that you're seeing on your screen, and it was, can you make a guess, when was it published?
Some 1800s or 1900s?
Even before that.
Okay.
This is 1726. So this is 297 years of this book. It will soon be 300 years. And you must keep an eye out 3 years later in 2026, when this book completes 300 years. There will be lots more about it. Lots of literature festivals, and so this is one of the oldest texts that we study in NCERT from 1726. Of course, we have an adapted version and we have an extract, which is only 3 pages long. The actual book is 300 pages long. It's a novel, and it's one of the first novels. As kids, you'll get older, you'll read novels which are longer than short stories, and this book has, as you can imagine, Simran, endured for 300 years. It's not a joke that
of course
there are many voyages, many stories that have been written, but very few have endured. The other one,
I believe it's so fresh, and it doesn't fail to entertain us.
Absolutely, and there are many words from this book which have entered the common lexicon, common day-to-day speech. Many words from it, like everybody knows what a Lilliput is. So Lilliput is somebody who is very tiny. The characters in this novel have become word, or Yahoo, which is now a search engine. Generally, before it became a search engine, it was Yahoo was also, you have a Bollywood song in which there is Yahoo as an exclamation, and generally Yahoo was used to demarcate any person who is crass or vulgar, who is lowly, and so on. So there are many words in this novel which have become part of our day-to-day vocabulary as well. Now, the strength of this work is that it's a travel adventure. There are many travel adventures written during this time, all through the 18th century, 19th century, because Europeans were traveling across the world, founding colonies. They found India. And in trying to find India, they found America by mistake. Columbus thought that was India when he found America in Miami. And so Europeans traveled all over. Why they traveled is because Europe itself was a very cold place, and they saw the potential of spice trade, especially in India. And so they went out to trade and eventually formed colonies, eventually ruled over these places. But writers of this time were busy writing all these stories, all these fantastic stories. So it would surprise you that this is originally not meant to be children's literature. Now it's known as children's literature. It's a very heavy satire. So satire, learners, is something in which you write to criticize something through a humorous way. And so this is a satire which at the political systems of England at that point of time and society in general, and so this is also called an allegory. When through a story you are telling the larger story of society, that is an allegory. So this is a satire and allegory, and Jonathan Swift is one of the leading satirists of the world, unmatched till date. The wit, the humor with which he writes and his characters. So in this session what we will do is we'll very quickly look at the extract that you have, but this you already have. This is just 3 pages and it's also taught to you in schools. We'll instead look at the background of this novel, what all went behind it, what else is in there apart from this little extract that you have. So the little extract that you have is from the second section called Brop, Dig, Nag. So the names are also really funny, all the names that are in there, Lilliput, Brobdingnag, all fantastical names. So in Brobdingnag, the section that you have, there are human beings who are giants, who are monsters, who are the size of monsters as imagined by human beings. Now why do I call it satire? Because all these colonialists, the writers who used to travel to America, Africa, India, they used to write these fantastic tales, which they've been written so much that we have also started believing in it. Like India is a land of fakirs, where fakirs are floating mid-air. Now you and I have never seen somebody float mid-air.
Of course, but that kind of perception has somehow developed, and since ages until date it's there.
Because of these writers. So there are charlatans, there are tricksters who do that by sitting on a pipe, probably hiding it in a cloth and all that. But there are no real levitators in the world. But these writers wrote absolute fantastic tales of people eating people in Africa, or people flying in the air in India, and things of that sort, which were all lies, which were all fiction. But people in Europe wanted to devour, wanted to read more, consume more of these stories because they were so fantastic. So what Swift has done is that he has taken all these characters from these writers and in a very humorous way turned it on its head, used it as a social message. So here there are people who are very large, and Gulliver, the character, the main character, is very small in front of them, and so he is taken care of by the princess, and the cat is 10 size the times of a bull. A little infant wants to swallow him, which is one of the visuals over here, and so on and so forth. So just the size of everything is inverted, and there are very funny sequences where Gulliver tells the king of the achievements of England, and the king just says that you people are odious vermin, insects. So he makes very light of England's achievements, and that is Jonathan Swift's comment, that for all the glory that we think we have, the politicians, the army people, the wars they fight, the things they do in their life, they are big things, but when you're faced with something bigger, you're really small. So that's his message, that when you're faced with a universe which has millions of planets and millions of suns, the Milky Way, what are you? You're very insignificant. So this is his way of telling, and also his way of telling that that one should not be too proud and arrogant about one's achievements or stature in society, because there's something always bigger than you waiting for you. So I'll skip this part because reading it itself would take probably about half an hour. But in this extract, it's just that he lands at a shore where a farmer picks him up. He's too small, and they're all fascinated. So he becomes an object of display to people. Children are curious. Everybody comes to watch him. And just with the size, he tells how he was going to be swallowed by a little infant of that tribe, and so on and so forth. Let's look at the larger picture of what this novel has to offer. So it's also happy 356th birthday to Jonathan Swift. His birthday is 30th November, and he would have turned 356 if he was alive today. And I say this because one section of the book also has immortal people who never die.
Okay.
We'll come to that. So we've already discussed, the title of the book is Gulliver's Travels, A Journey Through Time by Jonathan Swift, 1726, going to complete 300 years. So the book was an instant hit. Swift was not confident, so he had published it anonymously. Not confident, not about his abilities, but that if people understand that his satire at the politicians, he may go to jail or he may be punished, so he had published it anonymously.
Okay.
Later he owned it. The book was so popular, and it ran into multiple editions, and it's been translated into many languages, and everybody across the world knows the story of Gulliver in some way or the other. And like I said, genre is satirical novel or a travelogue. Genre is the way to classify literary works into different kinds. So there can be satire, there can be a historical novel, there can be a fantasy novel like Aladdin, etc. And the significance of this is that it's considered a classic. Of course, it's 300 years old, and it's influenced many works. Many writers have been inspired by Jonathan Swift.
And as you just mentioned that this particular novel or the story, it's a satire basically about the political system, and so we have seen and we have also observed, well, it's the students of class 5th and they might be aware of the fact that writers have used literature in a sense of expression, maybe presenting an overview of a society by not saying it directly, but of course it is there.
Yes.
How do you see that?
Yes. Writers always have to be witty and say it through humor, and that's the power of storytelling. That is what captures the attention of the readers, the listeners, and that is how they also understand situations which are explained through stories. That is why we explain so many messages through Panchtantra tales or Jataka tales, messages through animal stories and all of that. So literature has that power to, through its story, without telling anything, be able to tell you many things.
Oh yeah.
So learners, children should also think of which stories do you know which are not directly about something but do tell you about something important. Alright, now let us come to the sections in this book, and this is just to give the kids an idea of what all is contained in that book so that they can explore it further. There are many comic books, movies, TV series also with Gulliver. So the section that you have is from section 2, Brobdingnag, as you can see. In the first section is called Lilliput, and Lilliput now has become a word. There was also an actor in Bollywood who called himself Lilliput because he was small. So basically these are series of voyages on the ocean. So at this point of time there was only ocean travel possible. There were no airplanes, which came 200 years after this. So all these are sea voyages, and often in these plots what happens is there is a party going on a ship, and their ship gets wrecked and they land on some strange island in which these strange adventures happen. So the first one is Lilliput, in which people are really small, the size of toys, not exactly ants, let's say, the size of rats, let's say. They're that small. They're the size of thumb, as Gulliver explains. So he lands, the ship is wrecked and he's lying unconscious on the beach, and all these little people tie him up with ropes, which are actually threads for us, and there are hundreds of people, as you can see in this. This is from the original book. Gulliver towering over the army of Lilliput people. So at his feet, the little buzz that you see is the Lilliputian army. So what he's done here is he's played with the idea of sorry, just a second.
From beginning.
He's played with the idea of size. In one section the people are really small, in one section the people are really big, and so with small people They try to capture him initially, and of course he, it's a child's game for him to release himself. And then this is actually a whole satire about the politics of that time. When people, so there are two kingdoms fighting over the shape of an egg, or which side of the egg should be broken first. This is what the war is about between the Lilliput people and the Blefuscu people. And the Lilliput king wants Gulliver to help him out. Now Blefuscu people attack Lilliput, and Gulliver foils that attack single-handedly because he is so big. But when Lilliput wants to invade Blefuscu in retaliation, Gulliver refuses to do that. And that is also a message he is giving, that if one country is violent, the other country need not be violent. Somebody has to take the initiative of peace. And he shows that war is about extremely silly things, like here an egg. So modern wars are also about silly things which are made out to be serious by people, but actually it results in a lot of death and destruction and a lot of damage to both parties. And he makes fun of the politics of England of this time through all the Lilliput characters. The second part is Brobdingnag, where people are really big, the part we saw, and we also saw how the Brobdingnag king puts Gulliver down and says that you are like an insect. All the achievements of England, all the glory that you are talking about, I don't understand what that is about. The third section is in several places, in Laputa, in Balni Barbie, in Lugnag, in Glub Dub Drib, and Japan. It's amazing, look at the names, how fanciful and mouthful these names are. These names are also alliterative. Alliteration is something which of course children of this
well, we know
learn.
that Japan do exist, but all other places, are they for real?
No, they are all imaginary.
Okay.
They are all imaginary, and you can see from the names itself that they are supposed to be fantastic, difficult to pronounce, also alliterative.
Humorous.
Humorous, alliterative in the sense, so alliteration is when you repeat the same consonant sound again and again. Brobdingnag, so B sound
There's a
appears
repetition,
again and
okay.
again. Or Balni Barbie, so B sound repeats itself, Balni Barbie. Or Lugnag with the G sound, G sound, Lugnag. And the last one is the country of Hunim, so we will see each of them one by one quickly also. The last one is the country of Hunims, which where horses are in power. The creatures like horses, they rule the society, and Yahoos are their slaves who are like human beings. So we have already seen Lilliput and Brobdingnag, and that's seen from the Brobdingnag section, where Gulliver is tall, and you can see all the small people over there. In this also we have seen the notable scenes are where the giants put Gulliver down for his lack of knowledge. And this is a picture from Brobdingnag, where the little guy in the middle performing a show is Gulliver for the entertainment of all these giant people of Brobdingnag. Alright. The next section, Laputa, Balni Barbie, Lugnag, and Glub Dub Drib. And these are very good examples of science fiction. So science fiction, of course the other parts also, science fiction children is something in which a future is projected, where something fantastic is happening, a new scientific reality, a new reality of the world is there. So all the space, the Star Wars serials that you see and Space Wars stories that you read, they are all science fiction projected into a future. And there are many books of science fiction. Many of the things which were written in them have come very true. For example, 1984 of George Orwell, the dystopia that he presents, which is presenting a very dark society, how the future is, a lot of it has come true. Then there's Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, um, which also was written in the 1920s, and a lot of it in terms of technological advancements has come true. So Laputa over here sorry, is a flying island, and which is very scientifically driven. So the eyes of these people are very strange. One eye is inward and one is upward. So people don't see the way we see things. So you see inward. You look into your own self and you look at the sky. So these people are disconnected with reality. And so this is also his comment on scientists and philosophers who are disconnected from the world, and they may be pushing their experiments or thoughts, but it may not be. On the other hand, the positive aspect of it is that there may be, it also celebrates the kind of people who think deeply, who think inward. But this section also talks about scientific absurdity, where there are certain people, the experiments that a certain country is doing, one of these probably Lugnag, where they want to harvest sunbeam out of a pumpkin, things like this, very absurd things. And so the people are very weak because they don't have proper food, because the whole society is growing pumpkins and experimenting on it with a strange way to take sunbeams out of those pumpkins. So this section is about intellectualism. Intellectualism is, and people are very well read, but at the same time the flip side of it is that they may not be practically thinking of how to apply it to society. And it's also about the consequences of knowledge. So knowledge goes either way with for example, the knowledge of atomic power. You can build hospitals, you can provide electricity, or you can build atomic bombs. So Jonathan Swift's vision is really far into the future, where he can see the negative consequences of knowledge as well as the positive of it. Alright, and this is the flying island in the original book.
And sir, with that I would also like to know, why is it so important for students like 5th standard students? They are not too small, not too big. Why is it important for them to read such kind of stories? Is there any particular message that they are providing? Why it has been a part of their curriculum?
Oh, definitely. First, we all love stories, and this is the age we love stories the best, when we are 9, 10, and this is one of the most fantastic stories. Secondly is to understand texts, to understand the hidden meaning in texts. So how one story tells another story, which is what one should learn at this age. And thirdly, and most importantly, is the idea of travel. The traveling makes you wise, traveling makes you see the world in so many different ways, things which you have never heard of, never seen of, gives you a new idea, a new perspective. And Ralph Waldo Emerson says that you need not just travel in the body, you can travel in the mind. So if you read good books, if you see good movies, if you listen to wise people, wise old people, you will have a very good perspective about life, you will have much knowledge. So you also travel in the mind, not just in the body. So this is about travel and being curious and excited about travel, and also to imagine, to be creative, like this picture on your screen of the flying island. And what if people had eyes that looked inside the body and up in the sky, what would happen? So to think about curious things like that, children always think, to which adults have no answers. No. Right. And the last section in this book is the country of Hunims, where horses are the rulers. What if the animals that we see around us start ruling us? What if dogs rule? What if cows rule the society? What if you were their slaves?
Yeah.
So this also develops empathy towards animals. The way we treat animals, what if we were treated like that?
It would have been a very different picture altogether.
Absolutely. Would you like to be slaves of any animal, closed in a cage, beaten up, eaten, all those things? These are things to think about, which Swift wants to us to think. But he is also commenting on the human civilization, that in our greed we have become so degenerate. We have lost our wisdom, that we have become debased, and now we will be ruled by another species. So the human beings in this chapter are called Yahoo, who are very lowly, crass, vulgar human beings, not capable of ruling themselves, and therefore these wise horses rule. So Gulliver has conversations only with horses in this section, and in fact when he returns to England, in the end he starts talking to horses, which is also a comment on Gulliver himself, that human beings are also sometimes incapable of amalgamating into a society. He is so far removed from the regular society now. That is one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is that no human beings are worthy of his conversation any longer. He has learned so much, or that animals are wise, and he understands that, and he recognizes that and values that. Right, so that is one scene where the horses are the rulers, and that is Gulliver talking to horses. So we have already discussed that this is a political satire, this is a social commentary, and this is an allegory. An allegory, once again, is a story which tells a bigger story about our society. I think we are running out of time, but in the end, quickly about Jonathan Swift. In the beginning we discussed that it is his 356th birthday, recently passed, November 30. He was an essayist, poet, cleric, so you should also look up his essays and poems. In fact, his essays are very good, which include a modest proposal, and I will not open the can of worms by talking about them. And like I said, the legacy is very strong. He is one of the greatest satirists of Indian languages. There have been movies, songs, lots of stuff, and you must watch this movie called Gulliver's Travels, starring Jack Black, of 2010. There is also an Elton John song. So that is Gulliver's Travels.
Alright, thank you so much for bringing light to all these important concepts through this story. And yes, that is an answer to my question why we should read it, because we have got a lot that we can read and try, and as you just mentioned, this is just an excerpt of a story, and we have got so much in there. Thank you so much once again for connecting with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to all the viewers who have joined with us in this particular segment where we were discussing Gulliver Travels in English chapter. And viewers, before wrapping up this conversation, an important piece of information for all of you regarding NCERT textbooks. So as you all know that NCERT textbooks for this academic year 2023 to 2024, they are widely available all across the country. You may purchase them directly from the different sales counters of NCERT that are currently located at New Delhi, Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Kolkata and Guwahati. Also, you can place an order online for these textbooks if you want, and the link is also flashing on your screens. Besides, you can always order them, and you can always download them in the PDF in the soft copy version. In order to gain more information regarding authorized vendors and also about the availability of textbooks for different classes and different subjects, feel free to explore the website of NCERT, and the link is right there on your screens. Thank you once again. That's a wrap up for our English program. Next up we have our program of Hindi, और कक्षा 5वीं के सभी विद्यार्थियों के लिए हिंदी का यह सत्र रहेगा और इसका विषय होगा फसलों के त्योहार। तो इसके बारे में अधिक जानकारी प्राप्त करने के लिए आप बने रहिए eVidya चैनल्स के साथ। फिलहाल हमें दीजिए इजाज़त। नमस्कार।